The 16th President of the United States, the Civil War, Jason and the Argonauts, and the Golden Rule all have important lessons to teach us right now. How history, faith, and ancient Greek mythology can help us survive all this turmoil next on Episode 4 of The Friar Place. Stay tuned. So some call it an insensitive joke, but I think it's more of a sarcastic retort somebody came up with in the face of utter cluelessness. It goes like this. Well, other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you like the play? The point being, this hypothetical reporter or whomever addressing a grieving First Lady just doesn't grasp the tragic significance of something that happened concurrently with a less important something they're misguidedly paying attention to. I bring this up for a couple of reasons. First, I think we're all living in a time of cluelessness. Stranger and stranger things are happening every day, and more attention is being paid to causalities that at best skirt around the corners of root causes and matters at hand. Secondly, I bring this up because I think it's important right now to more carefully and seriously consider our 16th President, Abraham Lincoln. Sure, people joke about his assassination now, well, because sensitivities have a way of decaying with the passage of time. But so do other things like respect, admiration, adulation, and esteem. Just consider this. No matter how many times the words "freed the slaves" are uttered after mentioning his name, statues of him have been vandalized, all in the name of social justice, all over the world. All of this happening just when we desperately need models of unity, reconciliation, and leadership. So let's go back in time to when this country was horribly divided and at war with itself, towards the end of the Civil War, and most importantly, back to how the President of the United States addressed the crisis the country had suffered through for 4 long years. Of all the many things he said at the time, one particular phrase stands out above all the others. Words that should not be allowed to decay in meaning. Words that need to be recalled, reinvigorated, and I would go so far as to say even enshrined in law, and not just carved on a monument as they currently are. Approximately 1 month before the end of the Civil War and his own death, Lincoln uttered the following words: "With malice toward none, with charity toward all." Just imagine if we dared to attempt to live out that aspiration. Do you think there'd be fewer killings of young black men by white police officers? Do you think those charged with the daunting task of protecting and serving us just might experience more community support, understanding, and encouragement? Do you think there'd be fewer riots, violence, and lawlessness? And do you think maybe we might even be a little more ahead of the curve when it comes to the COVID-19 pandemic? You see, how we choose to approach and regard one another, well, it just affects everything. Living with charity toward all is just another way of saying living according to the Golden Rule. But even that has sadly decayed in meaning over the millennia. All faiths and religions have some version of that down on paper or parchment. So why is the world so bereft of its influence? If all our faiths profess some version of the Golden Rule, then why has practicing that aspect of our faiths been so conspicuous by its absence? Could someone have stolen the Golden Rule, like the Golden Fleece in the myth of Jason and the Argonauts? Could it be hidden away somewhere, safeguarded by dragons? Actually, it was more than just a play on words that led to the title of this episode. Because at the heart of that ancient Greek myth is something we would do well to keep in mind as we struggle to make our way out of this mess. You see, in order for Jason to procure the prized golden fleece, he needed to go on a quest, and he needed to do so in the company of others. In his case, the Argonauts. Now, a quest is more than just a journey or an excursion. It is something undertaken for a grand, noble, and heroic purpose. It can be long, it can be difficult, but without a doubt, essential. So I'm suggesting that we imagine ourselves on a quest to acquire greater civility, human compassion, and charity toward all. By doing so, there's less a chance of us being disappointed when solutions and remedies don't just suddenly appear. Quests aren't easy. They test our character and our fortitude. We can no more use magical or wishful thinking to get to where we need to be than Jason could have done to get to where the golden fleece was to be found. This is no time for knee-jerk reactions, unrealistic expectations, malice, or self-centeredness. We undertake this quest together, fortified by our shared history, our faiths, and our rich, if flawed, human ancestry. Oh, by the way, the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. was designed after the example of a Greek neoclassical temple. So I wrote a little whimsical song about the Golden Rule as a gentle reminder of its importance, but also of how opportunities for us to grow spiritually can be found just about anywhere and in anyone's company. The little song takes the form of a good old-fashioned bartender joke. A rabbi, a priest, and an imam walked into Joe's tavern one day. The imam just needed directions, the others just some time away. Well, they recognized each one another as men of the cloth, to be sure, but the rabbi, the priest, and the imam just awkwardly stared at the floor. Well, the bartender made his way over. He looked at the three holy men. He said, "Friends, can I ask you a question? I may never have this chance again." Well, the clergy looked up from their laces. The bartender scratched his bald head. After looking at each of their faces, here's what the old bartender said. "Well, I'm not a great theologian. Lord, I barely got through high school. But I know in my heart, though I might not be smart, how to live by the old golden rule. So if I, so simple and common, some have even called me obtuse, can live in this way, won't you tell me today, what's the world's great religion's excuse?" Now the rabbi was touched by his candor, the priest by his sincerity, but the imam, an amateur humorist, took delight in the man's irony. First one of them started to chuckle. Another one began to grin, while the third one smiled at the others as the bartender ushered them in. Well, they toasted with 3 Shirley Temples, and they noshed on some nachos, no cheese, while they listened to each other's stories, just like 3 old friends shooting the breeze. So this little song goes to show ya that no matter how smart you may be, some of the best lessons before us come about most spontaneously. Peace and all good.